everyone, welcome to Spooky Mountain. I am Steph.
And I'm Jordi, and thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode of Spooky Mountain. How are you going, Steph?
I'm good. Yeah. How are you going?
I'm okay. Actually, I've had the shittest day today, so I'm really excited to just record, and because I've got no idea what your story is, so I'm really excited to hear your story and to read my story.
I've got an Australian story.
Oh, do you? I love your Australian stories.
Yeah, it's an Australian one. It's really different from last week. It's completely different. It's just the way I'm reading it out. It's like a lot of I guess a lot of stuff taken from an interview, because it's I wasn't going to do it that way, but I actually was reading this interview and I was like, this is so much better than you could actually write it, because it's just like straight from the source kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a bit of that and a bit of my own words, but like it's really interesting. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. What's your story?
Mine's a bit different this week also, because it isn't like an outwardly paranormal thing. It's kind of like a bit of a mystery that it's something that we know exists, but we don't know what it is. That's all I'm gonna say. And I've been really excited to tell my story this week, because I think maybe like the last 2 or 3 of my stories have been so like dense, like just with information, and this is it's not lighthearted. It's actually quite like sad, this story. But it's kind of with the storytelling, it's a bit lighter. So I'm really excited.
I have no idea. Yeah, cool. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we've got we've got our stories, and also we will be doing another listener episode. So if you have your own stories, I know there are a few out there that have reached out to us, so definitely send them to spookymountainpodcast@gmail.com, because we're getting quite a lot, and we think it might become a more regular thing if you guys want to share them. Yeah,
it went down really well because it was the last one we did was like a Halloween episode. So it was kind of just like a bonus, fun Halloween episode. But it really, really was enjoyed by many people. So we're thinking that this is something that we'll just kind of keep on going every now and then, just as like a special thing. Because it was really
relaxed for us too. Like we didn't have to like really prepare anything for the week. It's kind of like just a bit more relaxed for us, and you guys get to hear like real, I guess, encounters that have happened with all of our listeners, which is really cool. So I would love to do it like every few weeks if we could get enough stories. That would be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I think also like it is a bit easier just in terms of like the, kind of energy that we put into the podcast. Also it's nice like connecting with people who have reached out, and you kind of have a bit of a chat with them, and they tell you what the experience is that they've had, and it's just really nice connecting with people who listen to the podcast and then know that their story is going to be told on the podcast as well. And then when the episode is out, you get to kind of like tell them like
share it.
It's out, go listen to it. So we'll definitely be doing more of that, because it was really fun. And
loved it.
Something else that's very exciting that is happening for us is that we just opened our online merch store. So we have shit for sale that you could go buy right now.
Oh my God. We've been looking at our logo like the day we got it, going, oh my God, it's going to look so fucking cool on like a sticker or a shirt. And what we've got available at the moment, I think we got t-shirts, hoodies, jumpers, stickers, tote bag. Oh my God, there's a lot.
There's a bunch of like really fun stuff. There's stuff that like is super affordable as well. So like, there is a sale on at the moment, but it's probably going to be finished by the time this episode comes up. But you never know, there might be another one on now. So go.
I think they do sales quite a lot because it's on TeePublic. So
they do.
They usually do have sales.
Yeah. So if you maybe can't afford a shirt or a hoodie or whatever, there's a sticker that's like fucking cheap as, there's heaps of stuff that's affordable. So yeah, go check it out. I'm so excited to have our logo on like people's clothes.
I know. I'm gonna buy like one of everything and just be that person. They're like, oh, who's Spooky Mountain? And they're like, my podcast.
Represent Spooky Mountain.
Yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, that's really exciting. I went out for dinner for the first time outside of lockdown last weekend, and fuck, it was a fail. It was so...
Oh, no. What happened?
Me and Dylan were like, let's go out. There's this Japanese restaurant, like sushi bar, that we really wanted to go to for ages, and it was always closed because when we moved to this area, we were in lockdown. So...
Oh, true.
Yeah, so we never got to really, like, go out and anything. And, like, me and Dylan have put on a bit of weight in lockdown.
I think everyone has.
I think everyone has, yeah. But it was funny because we were both trying to like find clothes that were nice, and Dylan was so sad. He's like, I actually don't have pants that fit me. So he had to wear soccer shorts. I was like, that's fine. I was like, oh, I've only got one pair of jeans, which were like my mum jeans, like my big baggy jeans, which are now skinny jeans on me. And we were just like both super depressed already. Got to the fucking restaurant. It was so packed.
Oh, and fuck.
It was really good sushi, but like it was so... This restaurant was absolutely massive, and they seat you really close together. So I couldn't even move my elbow to like eat properly.
Yeah.
And I tried to grab the first plate of sushi off the sushi tray, and when I pulled my arm back, I hit the straw on my full cup of Coke and knocked it all over my lap, all over my bag, my lap, and I just played it cool. I was like, that didn't happen, and I just like picked up the empty cup, put it on the table, and Dylan's looking at me going, are you all right? And I was like, just pretend it didn't happen. It's so busy, no one noticed, and I was like, that's fine. We just got here. It's fine. We'll just eat and then we'll leave. And it was the most uncomfortable thing I've done.
You just ruined like the set of clothes that only fit, like the only set of clothes that fit you in your whole house.
We're not civilized at all. We're never going outside for dinner again. It was fucked.
Oh my God. For the past maybe like 3 months, the only clothes I've worn has been like trackies and like flunnies. I've got like 100 million flunnies that I like rotate every day.
Yeah.
And I feel like such a fucking dumpling. Like I'm so from lockdown, I'm round, I'm daggy, like my God.
I can't even it's so hard to like try and dress like just that moment of us going, let's just, go all, and then we just started panicking, just going, oh God, what are we doing? Should we just not and just get takeaway again and just not
just
be
stay
like,
home.
no, we'll do it. You know, it like freaked us out. But I think it just kind of, realized like, oh fuck, okay, we're gonna try and sort something out.
yeah, I've definitely been feeling like that as well. Also, post baby body is very different to the before baby body, and then there's lockdown, and I think just generally like sitting around home for months makes you feel a bit gross as well, so you just don't feel too great. It's
going to be a very slow, like, gradual step of getting out there and becoming more social and stuff.
Oh, for sure. And that's really intense, like going out to a restaurant and there being lots, and in hotspot as well, because your area was a hotspot. So
Jesus.
Like going to a restaurant where there's like people really close to you. Oh my God. You know what happened? It's not even a big deal. So the other day I took Panda out to literally the most hellish place that exists on earth.
Yeah.
It's called Lollipop's Playland, and I would rather shit myself than go to this place ever again. There are, oh my God, I'm absolutely not this person that's just like, I hate kids, but this place was just horrific. Anyway, it was like I had to drive out to an area that was in a previous like COVID hotspot. Right. And these kids are just like drooling everywhere and coughing, doing their kid cough, that kind of cough that they do.
Full spray cough.
Their grubby hands are everywhere, and oh my God, it was so like I felt so.
How many kids can fit in this like contraption? Let's call it
too many children.
Yeah, right.
It was full of kids. I don't even know if they've got a limit. Like they were just everywhere. They were like punching my kid. It was it was crazy. Oh my God, because it's out in an area that's like a bit more rough as well, and so I think these kids are just a bit more like rumble tumble than what Panda's used to, and they were like pushing her over and like punching her,
warming her up to the real world. Nice and early.
It was fun because she like I guess got some energy because she's such a psycho. She's got so much energy, so she got some energy out. But Jesus Christ, I just felt like sanitizing.
I mean, those places are so high energy. I mean, I remember going to like those. I think the one where I grew up when I was like a kid, it was called Play Maze.
Yeah.
And it was like, it looked like it was in, well, now like as a kid, it felt like an aircraft like carrier warehouse
like a hangar thing.
Yeah, like a hangar filled with just play equipment, and it was all combined into like one giant thing, and Mum's just sitting there with like a cup of coffee, and I'm like 10 stories up just waving at her, and there's kids screaming inside. There's piss everywhere. There's kids just start pissing in there, and it was just hot and sweaty, and you're just like, this is incredible. It's like that's like my memory of
this is the exact place that it was, and I was the mum with the coffee, although because like these kids were like beating up my kid, I had to kind of like follow her around, and these kids were like hitting me. Okay, it's pretty like enclosed, so there's not much space, so when the kids hit me, it was by accident, and I was the like scary mum that just kind of like stared into their eye and didn't say anything. I was just like you fuck with me. And they just kind of like scuttled away. But yeah, this is the exact place that it was. It's just like sweat and pee and bloody sticky residue everywhere.
Sounds filthy. Oh my God. So you're not going to go back there anytime soon? Did you just try to go as like just like an experience, see how it is? Or was it like
I'll go back. I'll probably go back. Like just because it gives me a chance to have a break just for a second, because like as I said, my kid is like so crazy. Like she's 1.5 and she's just like so energetic and psycho. So like I just let her run wild, and it just kind of wears her out.
Sounds like you just need to be like, just take a lap for 24 hours. Just keep going.
Just keep going. Yeah, I just maybe need to like put on earphones and then gloves, and I'll feel a bit better about it. Maybe have like a glass of wine beforehand, and
oh my God, wow,
it'll be fun. So I guess what happened to me just a few days ago. So I had my first kind of like semi-scary sleep paralysis experience.
Really?
Because I've had kind of like weird, almost sleep paralysis hallucination before, but this was like
that's right.
This was like a few moments of almost terrifying sleep paralysis.
Really?
Yeah. So I was asleep in the morning. So it was morning time, and Panda wakes up before me, and she's like asleep in my bed. And then that kind of wakes me up after she wakes up. And so I kind of like slowly woke up, and my body was frozen, and I was facing the wall, and Panda was kind of like in front of me and facing me.
Right.
I was on my side, but kind of on my back, and I couldn't move. It almost felt like I was so tired. So I don't know if it was sleep paralysis, but it could have been. I just felt like I was so like tired and low on energy that I couldn't even move. So I did probably was like a paralysis.
That's mental.
And I felt like, because I was kind of facing away from the other direction, it felt like there was someone behind me. It was like this overwhelming feeling of a presence like right behind me. It felt like there was absolutely 100% someone watching
I know
me
that feeling
from behind, but I was frozen, so I couldn't turn to look.
Ooh.
And it was just for a few moments, but it was just horrific. It was so scary.
That's creepy.
Yeah, it's scary. I've had
So what? Yeah, it wasn't very long, and then it just went away.
And then I just kind of.
Oh, then you can move.
I was able to move, and when I was started to be able to move, that I almost just kind of forgot about it. I was just like, oh, what the fuck was that? Yeah, really scary. I have had such a fear of having like sleep paralysis for years. It's just like that was scary, but I know it can be a lot worse. Like I know sleep paralysis can be just like 100 times more terrifying.
Fucking horrible. The amount of people that have it is insane.
I know.
Like I didn't know it was a proper thing till like 5-6 years ago. Like I literally just did not think it was a thing. I was like, how that's fucked. Like but I really I really try not to give it too much thought because I know that like I'll never be the same if I have an experience like that. It will fuck me up.
Totally. Well, that's the thing is like people will literally have like old hags like sitting on their chests and strangling them and like people like the Hat Man and imagine seeing shit like that. Oh my God. You wouldn't be the same.
It would change you.
It would change you forever. Yeah. So I'm hoping, and also I've heard of people who have gone like their whole lives without having a single sleep paralysis. And then they hit like 40 or 50 and then, or like late 30s and they start having it. So that's kind of what's scary about it as well. It can just like come out of nowhere. You can try as hard as you want to not have it. It doesn't
you can't
matter.
even like sense when it's gonna happen.
It's fucked. And you're so vulnerable because you can't move as well.
Yeah, literally the worst time when you're like the most relaxed, you're the most comfy, and then the most fucking horrible thing happens to you. It's like, why can't this just happen like when I wash the dishes or something?
Yeah,
and, you know, like,
it's already boring and having, you know.
Oh, it's only going to happen when I do the washing or something, but no, sleeping, great.
And sleep is so necessary. Like as a parent, I know what it's like to not ever have any sleep. And I could imagine if you have like chronic sleep paralysis, you would like put yourself into such a stressful state of wanting, like needing to sleep but being scared to sleep and not fun.
No, that does not sound fun at all.
No.
Well, maybe I might start my story actually.
Yeah.
I think it's probably about time we get into it.
I would love to hear your story, please.
Okay. I can do that. Okay. So, first off, I'm going to be quite honest because I only just recently heard about this encounter.
Okay.
I probably talked about this already, but I've recently just watched the entire show of X-Files from like start to finish.
Yes.
Like the whole, I think it's like over 200 episodes or something. It's fucked.
Are you serious? And you watched all of them?
Yeah, there's like 24 episodes in a season, like, and I don't even know. I honestly have no idea. It took me months.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't in a span of like months. 2 weeks or something.
No. I wish we watched at least 2 episodes a night.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. Oh, that's so fine.
So, I mean, I do not, it was the best thing ever. But yeah, so there was an encounter that Mulder mentioned in one of the newer episodes. I think it was like the last season. And he mentioned this encounter and I was like, oh, what the fuck? And I was like, I've never even heard of this. And he mentioned it was an Australian thing. And I was like, what? So I literally was like, I'm going to note this down. Yeah. I'm going to look into it a little bit later. And I looked into it and it is one of the most fascinating Australian alien abduction encounters.
Oh.
If you choose to believe it, of course. But this is the story of what happened to Kelly Cahill.
Oh, in my searches for a story for the podcast, I've come across this and I've like dog-eared it in my brain to go back to that story because I didn't really end up looking into it, but I heard that it's a very fascinating abduction story, but I don't actually know really any details, so I'm very excited to hear what it is.
Awesome. Yeah, it's I'm pretty like confused. I was like, how have I never
Yeah.
heard about this before. I guess I feel like maybe it's because we're so overwhelmed with like American culture that sometimes we don't really look into our own stuff.
It's funny.
That much. Like,
it's funny you mentioned that, because it was just the other day that I was thinking, I was like writing my story and I was like, literally every story we do is like American cases, almost every, like I've done
nearly all of them are
like apart from like a few, but
it's insane.
Mostly American.
So there are a lot of Australian ones, but I think it's just really like digging in and trying to find them. But I mean, this is a super famous one, so I'm sure that there's listeners that are probably very familiar with this, and they're like, Steph, okay, you don't like UFOs if you don't know Kelly Cahill. But anyway, it is a pseudonym as well, Kelly Cahill.
Right.
So, we'll start off. It's a chilly winter's night in Narrawarren, Victoria, 1993. 27-year-old Kelly and her husband Andrew are driving to their friend's place for dinner. They're driving along the Belgrave-Hallam Road when Kelly notices in a paddock a row of 5 or 6 large orange lights on a, quote, distinct circular shape, like nothing I have ever seen before, she wrote in her book. Once they arrived at their friend's place, she actually mentioned this to them, and she said, look, this is what I saw on the way there. They really did not take her seriously. They actually kind of like made fun of her, as we've heard before.
Yeah.
They were just like, you're a fucking idiot. Kelly ended up just laughing it off as well, because she was like, oh my God, okay, it was probably nothing. So once it's time to go home, Kelly and Andrew hop in their car. So it's around midnight now. They had a big barbecue for dinner and they're just nice and tired, ready to go home. So the rest is, a bit of this is from her interview. So we were driving back down the road in the same stretch. Both of us, just me and my husband. We both saw this ring, mind you, in front of us, hovering above the road. It was just something sitting there. I couldn't tell what it was. We were at first far away, but as you got closer to it, it was sort of, it wasn't like the orange light in the field. It was a round shape with some sort of glass around it, or what looked like windows and lights around the bottom. Because it was dark, you couldn't really tell at first, but as we got closer and closer, there was no noise or anything. Even my husband's going, you're right, that's something. That's very, very strange.
Wow.
And I swear we saw people in there. And then just as I said to him, I swear there's people in there, it just shot off to the left as fast as it could. I mean, it just disappeared. Within a split second, it had gone.
Wow.
We kept driving, and about 1 kilometre ahead, all of a sudden, there's this really, really bright light in front of us. And I've got my hand up above my brow to look out the window because it's that bright, but I can't see anything. I said to my husband, what are you going to do? He said, I'm going to keep driving. From there, that is the last we remembered until I knew I was going to see a UFO. I just knew because of what we had seen. I'd seen it twice in one night and he had seen it once, and the adrenaline is pumping. The heart is thumping. I'm so excited. All of a sudden, I'm sitting in my car and I'm saying to my husband, what happened? And he says to me, I don't know. We must have gone around a corner or something. By the time we got home, he was definite of everything. But at that time, he didn't know what happened either. I said to him, I swear I've had a blackout because adrenaline just doesn't appear in a split second like that. I mean, your heart is going mad, and all of a sudden, one thing that really annoyed me was that I could smell vomit. I couldn't figure out where the smell was coming from. So that's kind of like her first bit of memory.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's such an amazing recounting of what happened. It's fascinating. I was just entranced that whole time.
Yeah, it's just crazy because you remember having that crazy adrenaline feeling, and then all of a sudden you're just waking up, and she was just sitting in the car, and they were like, oh, so
yeah. So there's definitely a time
Something's
frame
happened.
missing.
Yeah. So later on, as the couple got home, so it was about 2:30 at this point in the morning. So an hour had seemed to pass without any explanation. So it was about an hour of missing time. And weeks have now passed, and lots of strange occurrences have been happening to Kelly. She claimed to find markings on her body, one of them being a triangular wound just below her belly button. She also started to experience horrible stomach pains, which sent her to the hospital many times, and was getting night visits from tall black hooded figures with glowing red eyes.
Oh, no. That's definitely not what you want to see at nighttime.
It's so bad. Months after the encounter, Kelly was visiting her friend's house again. So, quote, back to her interview. On the way home from bingo that night, we went along the same road, and as we passed a certain spot, I just got this incredible feeling of terror go through me. I mean, absolute terror. All of a sudden, I just started remembering. And by the next morning, I had remembered just about everything that happened, except the still missing time that I can't. What we had actually done, we had driven into the light, but the road curved, and the light we had thought was in front of us was actually to our right-hand side. It was in the field, and it was massive. So it was very big. Why I knew it was very big was because we could have driven 5 minutes. The road sort of wound around this part. You could have driven for 5 minutes and not had it out of your sight the whole time. So Kelly continues, I asked him to stop the car, and we both got out. I remember leaning back in, actually on the floor, to pick up my handbag because I didn't go anywhere without my handbag. And that's one of the sort of things that triggered off a lot of these memories, doing that. The other thing was telling myself, you are conscious, this is real, this is happening, this is real. For a while, it was just absolutely terrifying, but you can't help it because it sounds really wacky. I mean, this is not the way it's supposed to happen at all. We crossed over the road, we jumped the gutter, and we walked up. I looked down the road, and there was another car, a light blue car, pulled up. Some people got out and went across the road. I only thought it was two, but it was actually three. But I didn't pay much attention. They must have been at least 100 meters down the road from us. And when you've got something like that in front of you and you got people down the road, well, I was more interested in what was in front of me. So I didn't get any detail of them.
Right. So, like, she had something else more interesting in front of her as opposed to the other people that were there. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think at the time, you'd definitely be like, there's a fucking UFO.
Of
and
course.
you're probably like, of course they see it too.
Yeah. No, but it was so big as well. And yeah.
I'm standing there and we are looking at this thing for about 30 seconds. All of a sudden, there is a black figure on the field. It's about 7 feet tall.
Oh.
I knew it was really tall at the time. And it started coming towards us, only slowly, and it had big red eyes. It sounds stupid, but it had great big round red eyes, like huge fly's eyes. And they were red, like not like a reflection of red, but like burning red, like fluorescent stoplights.
Oh my God.
I suppose that sort of real burning red.
Oh, that's so terrifying. Fuck that. Red glowing eyes.
For like a paragraph like that, I was like, I have to read this stuff out. Like I can't like write it in my own words. I just feel like it wouldn't have come out as intense.
Coming from the mouth of someone who has seen like big red glowing eyes, like you can't describe it any better.
She's making it fluorescent stoplights. So all of a sudden, I started screaming out to my husband. Now, this has really got me baffled because of the fact that a human being doesn't know this, so I don't even know how I came out with this, but I started saying, they've got no souls.
Oh.
And then I started screaming louder, they've got no souls. Then all of a sudden, there were heaps of them in the field, not just one, a whole group of them, and they started coming towards us faster than a man could run.
Oh,
and
my
they
fucking
were gliding.
God. Stop.
I know, I feel sick. I'm really scared now. I'm so scared.
Oh, my God.
Myself.
Okay, so everyone, I just saw your cat, like, appear out of nowhere.
Don't you fucking oh, yeah.
Everyone listening, I can see Steph. Like, we have a video chat, and Steph kind of sets the mood by having darkness and just kind of like herself illuminated, and your cat just fucking came out of nowhere.
This giant white fluffy cat. Yeah, he's
yeah, with red glowing eyes.
Yeah, he's just looking at me like, oh, that's bedtime story. Oh my God.
Oh, I just started getting like so creeped out.
Yeah, so she's saying that faster than a man could run, and they were gliding off the ground. So they were just gliding. They got halfway across the field. They split up. Some of them went towards the other people, and some of them, the rest came towards us. Kelly found herself, screaming to the other people down the road, they're evil, they're going to kill us. The next thing I know, I felt this oomph in my chest, right across here, like I was winded, but I was thrown back, and I was on my back on the ground, and I sat up, and my head between my knees here, I'm trying to stay conscious. I couldn't see my eyes. It was all black.
Oh my God.
So that's her, the encounter that she remembers. So yeah, it's pretty much blacks out at that stage again. So
right.
Ugh.
Wow, that really, truly just like chilled me.
It really picks up, hey? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I didn't, because, you know, like hearing about like alien encounters, it's pretty creepy. Like,
yeah.
But, you know, there's like this theory that there are a type of alien out there that is kind of like an evil alien. So, you know, if this is like a true story, which sounds pretty convincing, I would say these are the evil kind.
Yeah, I'd say pretty damn evil, these ones. So, so Bill Chalker is a Sydney-based UFO researcher who has been who was contacted by Kelly shortly after these events took place. Mm-hmm. And so he's a fantastic investigator, which is really funny. It's funny because Jordi's eyes lit up.
Yes,
because you actually messaged me as I was researching this, and you messaged me on Discord, and you're like, hey, Bill Chalker's got this event that's coming up next week. We should go. And I was like, what the fuck is going on?
What
like, this is the first time I've
this?
heard of Bill Chalker. And I was like, how is this happening?
This is the first time that I had heard of him as well. And this is not like, because he's doing like a UFO talk thing in the mountains. And I don't think he's ever done this in the mountains before, and it's at a cafe that is like not even 5 minutes from my house. It's probably like a 3-minute drive.
Strange.
I know. It's so, what are the odds? Wow.
I know. And I was like, do I tell her? And I was like,
no, I'm so glad you waited.
But I was just like, my mouth was just open. I was like, what the fuck? I'm literally typing Bill Chalker as you were like messaging me about it. I was like, I'm not even joking. It was so weird.
God, I hope that doesn't mean that aliens are gonna visit us or something.
Oh my God. Oh, the synchronicities. But anyway, so Bill Chalker, he ended up contacting the Phenomena Research Australia, or PRA, as I'm going to keep calling them. So they're a Melbourne-based group who is led by John O'Shettle. And the reason why he contacted them is because Bill lives in Sydney and Kelly's in Melbourne, or Victoria. So they're based in Melbourne. So it just makes more sense for him to kind of pass it on. So Kelly was interviewed by Mr. O'Shettle, and he examined the alleged scene near Umemmering Creek. I think I'm pronouncing that right. This whole event happened near that creek. And they ended up picking up a very unusual amount of radiation and magnetic readings as well.
Ooh.
Yeah. And Mr. Chalker and the PRA then placed an ad in local papers trying to locate the other witnesses that were in that car. So amazingly, they actually got a response from the car closest to them. So it was a married couple and their friend. So there was 3.
Right.
The 2 women in that car seemed to remember the same thing Kelly did. So the tall, dark figures on the field, the UFO, and also went further into their experience, detailing being inside the craft, being strapped to a table. So that was some stuff that they remembered. According to the PRA, the women had the same triangular wounds near the navel, as well as other strange marks. But the man, just like Kelly's husband, pretty much had little to no involvement in the whole situation.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, I don't like that.
No, me neither.
So there was even talk of a 3rd car driven by a local lawyer, PRA discovered, whose story also lined up. And the researchers began prepping an exhaustive 300-page report that promised to reveal the truth of it all. Eventually, of course, the media seemed to catch up on this story and started interviewing Kelly in newspapers, magazines. She also appeared on Today Tonight, which is like a really famous talk show news kind of thing in Australia. So Kelly had now become a huge name in the UFO community and also outside of it. With every interview that happened, she would reveal little bits more of the report that would be coming out to the public. So she just gave everyone little teasers here and there.
Yep.
Kelly then published her own book that sold out very fast. They actually had to do a really quick reprint.
Right.
And it's now sadly completely out of print. So the book sells for $150 online.
Oh,
like
fucking
if you
hell.
can even get a copy. I know, it's like, I think they only printed like 20,000 in Australia and 20,000 overseas. So it's really not many at all.
It's not many, but still for 40,000 books to just kind of sell out from someone who I'm presuming wasn't an author before she wrote the book it's good, like, but still it's not many, like, you know, to be printed.
I'd love to get my hand on it.
Yeah.
Maybe you could buy an online copy, but I mean the book, having the actual book would be
the hard
better.
copy.
I don't really, so now it's 1998 and Kelly has completely disappeared from the scene, including her husband. And the other witnesses never came forward as well. The PRA report that was written up also was never revealed. Mr. Chalker still believes Kelly's story, but just regrets handing the case over to the PRA. So, quote, there was a lot of bad blood that passed between them and me as a consequence of their role in this case. This was an extraordinary lost opportunity. I've seen a lot of information that suggests the investigation was carried out, but unfortunately, they didn't want to share the material. Also, strangely, 27 years later, Mr. Orshettle told the ABC News that the PRA report might actually still come out, which is like, what? Yeah, so he said, the case is so good. Our report is worthy of release, but we won't release it now because once we release our report, then we become the focus of the case. Our idea was we would release the report and then bring the witnesses out. But at the moment, we don't know where they are. And if we release anything, all the focus will be on us and we'll get hammered.
Yeah.
Which I do understand that. There's no one there.
Yeah, I understand, but also, like, after all this happening, it does just seem a bit like, like, what is going on with it? Yeah.
Put it out there.
Yeah, just put it out.
In 2000, Mr. Chalker received all the files from Kelly, so she actually just sent everything that she had and just was like, I don't want it anymore. But she left the country because she didn't want anything to do with it anymore. So she was just like, take it, I'm gone. I don't want anything to do with it anymore. quote, she really wanted to take a low profile and put all this behind her, Mr. Chalker said. She spent a lot of time trying to raise the profile of this episode and wanted to have the other witnesses come out as well. When it ultimately became pretty clear that she was going to be the only one that was going to go public on this, that's when she felt less confident about being the constant contact point of this case.
Of course.
Particularly when PRA didn't back her up in terms of having the availability of the case material that went in it. So she didn't see it.
You would be like touted as a mad person if you came out as the only person being the center point of the case. You would receive so much like criticism, and even if you know that your story is true and you do have people that believe you and whatever, like there would be so you would be like in the public eye being criticized as being just
I think she was definitely like, there would have been like a handful of people that were like, I think at the time would have been like, this is fascinating, like this is crazy. And then a lot of people can just, I mean, back then in the 90s as well, they've been like, shut up. Like, no, you know, the time of the X-Files as well, like it would have just been all very, I don't know. It's interesting, I guess, with pretty much any abduction case. It's pretty out there, but yeah. So I guess at this point, like, Kelly has no information. She's got no documents. Mr. Chalker does have them, but there's a lot that the PRA still have.
Right.
So, which they won't. Yeah. So they kind of were collecting a lot of it. I think Kelly was kind of keeping some extra things, or maybe like a couple of copies of them, but pretty much the PRA have it all, which really sucks.
Yeah, and it would be very interesting to know what they have.
Absolutely, yeah. So she moved overseas and then she actually moved back to Victoria. So she is back in Victoria, but I mean, she's under a pseudonym as well, so no one actually knows who she is. Which, I mean, is very smart. But, yeah, so who actually knows if she's going to go public with it or not? I mean, even the witnesses as well that were I couldn't find if they were in contact with each other. Right. The witnesses and Kelly. But, I mean, that would be an interesting thing to see. But, yeah, pretty much that's kind of the encounter that's as much as I could narrow it down to. But I'm going to actually on our Facebook, because I'll share, there's like a really great article I found of pretty much a lot of the encounter and interview she had. Right. And it's so great to read through. It was amazing. If anyone wants to go like further into it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very, very fascinating case. Just, you know, it's an Australian case, but also just it almost reminds me of like when she was able to remember. It almost reminded me of like when you hear of stories of like people who have woken up in the middle of like surgery and their anesthesia has worn off. Like that's kind of what it reminded me of. Like she wasn't supposed to remember, but then like something kind of like brought her memory back. And
that's a good way to put it.
It's very weird.
She was having a lot of dreams as well. Like apparently like every night she was having extremely vivid dreams and just really weird. And then I think she just went right into like religion and became super like Christian or something. And then that kind of like flipped her and was like, no, that didn't happen to me. Yeah. But, and was kind of like going back on it. And it's like, it sounds all over the place.
Yeah. But I guess like with it being such an intense experience, it probably would make you seek out something like religion or make you doubt certain aspects of what
I think
you
her
know.
dreams were like influencing that a lot as well, because I think she said she was getting like visitors, like I think the dark figures, she started to think they were like angels or something.
Right.
I don't know. I didn't really go into that side of things because I was like, that's a whole other different side of the story. Yeah. But I guess this is kind of like the whole basic like abduction scenario of what she remembers. Yeah. But yeah, it's
very,
definitely fascinating.
Very interesting. I really like that one. It's very something to think about. That it was only the women that really had like those memories coming back and felt like they were involved in like these beings and what they were doing, and like I wonder what happened to their bodies, because
I know,
like maybe that
having
had
the little
something,
scars.
yeah, that's kind of fucked up.
It's scary.
It's a very like horrible thing to happen to someone though, like whether this is absolutely something that happened or this is somehow, like, I do believe that this happened. I don't believe it's just her brain making it up. But even if it was just her brain making it up, it's still a horrible thing to experience, you know. But I very much feel like this is obviously a thing,
that's the
you
thing.
know?
Like, I mean, if people were like, oh, she did it just for the money, it's like, if she did it for the money, she would have kept rolling with it, because she was like, still to this day, she's such a high demand person to have at these UFO conferences. And like, she did a little bit of media, she wrote a little book, and then she was like, no, I'm out. Like, no, you know, she could be making so much money off this, you know, and she didn't want to. She was like, no, this is too much. Yeah. And even though other witnesses were like, no, I don't want to be public on this. Like, yeah, it happened. But, yeah, we don't really want to have anything come from it.
For sure. Like, I think, you know, we've spoken about this a few times, but, you know, when you have a case of something like this, whether it be like ghosts or UFOs, aliens, whatever, it's like, how much money is the person making off their story? You know, if it's kind of like a lot of money, then
it probably wasn't much off the book anyway. Like, if she did have a publisher, like 40,000 copies, like that's
and I mean,
not going to be much.
She wanted to keep a low profile, like not just with her name being, you know, a pseudonym, but like just other aspects of, you know, what she did. Like, she wanted to keep a low profile. If you want to make heaps of money, you don't keep a low profile.
That's it. Yeah, there's other ways you can go about it. So, I don't know.
I'm glad that you told that one. I've been meaning to go and like look at that, but I'm glad that I didn't. Yeah, it's very fascinating. I guess I will get into my story.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as I said, this one is a bit of a different one. And I hope it's paranormal-ish enough, because it's not fully paranormal, but it is maybe. You'll see.
Oh, it's fine. I'm really excited.
Okay. So, for my story this week, I'm going to be telling you about the curious case of Mary Reeser. Have you ever heard about Mary Reeser or her curious case?
Not at all.
No. Okay.
This is all new to me. Woo.
Yay, I stumped Steph finally.
Yes.
So, Mary was born on March 8th in 1884 in Columbia, Pennsylvania. And after the death of her husband, Richard Reeser, many years after she was born, she got married to Richard Reeser, and when he died, she decided to move to the city of St. Petersburg, Pennsylvania, to be closer to her only son, who was also named Richard. So we've got two Richards and a Mary so far.
Yeah.
So Mary really built a comfortable home for herself in an apartment in St. Petersburg. She would receive regular visits from her son, Richard, who was a successful practicing doctor in the Florida area and who she loved so much and was really close to. So the pair were very, very close. She had a nice home. She had a great social life. Everything was great. But the only thing that wasn't so great for Mary was the heavy Florida heat that she would really suffer through during the hot seasons of the year. So she just fucking hated. She really, really suffered each year with the heat. The Florida heat was such a struggle for Mary that for most nights during the warm seasons, she would have to use sleeping pills to even be able to fall asleep due to her discomfort.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so she and like I've felt that level of
humidity
heat,
though.
The humidity.
I mean, I think Florida has the same like temperate as Sydney.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I've heard.
Yeah.
Florida, South Africa, and Sydney apparently have the same.
Really?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like Cape Town, South Africa kind of area.
Okay.
It's the same.
I don't know if you've ever experienced like Queensland heat, but that is like unbearable.
No, I
my
haven't.
God.
I've experienced Thailand humidity.
Oh, yeah, that's proper humidity in Thailand.
Yeah, I like the heat. Like I've done Athens heat in like 40 degrees, and then I've done Thailand in 40 degrees, and I'll fucking take over. Athens, please. Like there's the sweat.
Yeah.
It's so muggy. And
Yeah,
gross.
and you can't escape it. It's just like in your fucking face. Yeah. Well, I'm imagining this to kind of be the same, just like very muggy and yuck.
Mosquitoes as well.
So Mary spent many years in Florida, creating a fantastic life for herself after her husband's death.
Yeah.
She made some really good friends and regularly made outings to have lunch, and would often go visit other people in their homes for dinner gatherings and for board games and for knitting sessions.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds fantastic. Everything was going great for Mary, and she was really enjoying life. On July 2nd, 1951, so a fair few years after Mary had moved to Florida, her son, Richard, had made one of his weekly visits to see his beloved mother, Mary. They had a yummy dinner, and it was later in the night when Mary told Richard that she was feeling quite tired because she had taken 2 Seconal tablets. And
oh, boy.
Yeah, so Seconal tablets, that's a mild sedative commonly used to calm patients before surgery. So
right.
It sounds quite hectic, but
it can knock you out very fast.
Yes, I think it's essentially like an anti-anxiety medication that can make you quite drowsy.
Right, okay.
Later that night, after Richard had left the apartment, Mary would get dressed into a light nightgown and sit by the window that was letting in a warm breeze while she smoked a cigarette. Sitting in this spot in her chair was something that Mary did often, but unfortunately, this would be the last time she sat here, as something very mysterious would happen to Mary Reeser.
What the fuck?
It was in the early morning of the next day, approximately 8 a.m. or so, give or take, that Mary's landlord, Pansy Carpenter, received a telegram addressed to one of her many St. Petersburg apartment residents. The recipient of this telegram was Mary. She knew who Mary was. They weren't great mates, but they'd had friendly interactions before and often, and Pansy thought that she was just like a kind and warm older lady that mostly kept to herself. Pansy headed up to Mary's apartment to deliver her the telegram that she'd just received. Once Pansy reached Mary's apartment, she casually knocked on the door, but no answer. She tried again, and then again, but still no answer. She felt like she was friendly enough with Mary to be able to just open the doorknob and crack the door slightly so she could peer through into Mary's apartment to deliver the telegram to her herself, or maybe just give her a little yell.
Yeah.
But when Pansy touched the doorknob so she could look into the apartment, she straight away noticed that the metal door handle was hot, like too hot to even be able to touch.
Oh.
Pansy instantly felt like something was not right, with her gut instincts saying that she really needed to make sure that Mary was okay. But instead of entering the apartment herself, she rushed back to her office and frantically dialed 911, which was a smart move.
Yeah.
Not long after the call was made, the police arrived at the apartment block. They made their way up to Mary's apartment, and when they entered the home of the 67-year-old Mary Reeser, they saw something that they had never witnessed before in their lives and would never witness again. They encountered something that would be one of the most inexplicable events of their lives.
Oh. Okay. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited to tell you, even though it's very sad.
Yeah, true.
When they entered the apartment slowly and cautiously, checking each room for the woman, they eventually made their way into the apartment's lounge room. It was in this room that they found Mary, along with the lounge chair that she had been sitting on, totally just burnt to a crisp.
Oh.
Actually, her body was so decimated by fire that if it weren't for the one remaining partial leg and foot still in its black satin slipper, her skull and part of her spine that remained in the pile of ashes, nobody would have even known that these were human remains.
No way.
Yes, Mary's body had been almost completely cremated.
What the fuck? Okay.
Yeah. So it's an intense story, but also just a very kind of curious one.
Yeah.
Next to what was the remaining metal springs of the chair was, curiously, a pile of dry newspapers, completely intact and totally free of any burns or charring whatsoever. Every single piece of furniture and furnishings of the apartment was left unscathed and untouched by a single flame. Yeah. Really, the only other sign of fire, apart from Mary's cremated remains, were some plastic appliances that were next to her charred ashes that had slightly softened. And also very, very faint markings of smoke on the roof where the lounge chair had been sitting. Mary Reeser had seemingly just burst into ashes in the middle of her apartment. So just to point out, for a regular cremation, usually, fire and burning that is hot enough to turn a solid body into cremains, it must reach temperatures of at least 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 1,600 degrees Celsius, give or take. And these... Yes.
That's impossible. What?
I know. At these temperatures, they have to be burning for at least 3 to 4 hours solidly.
Okay.
So this has to have been the minimum temperature that Mary's body had burnt at. And yet, essentially, the whole of her apartment contained almost zero evidence of fire or even smoke damage, aside from the slight smoke markings on the roof above where the body was.
Right.
The newspapers next to her chair, the almost untouched plastic appliances next to her, nada, nothing. Even the walls next to her, next to where her and her chair was situated, the paint remained intact without cracking or heat damage.
Wow.
Yeah, this is very bizarre considering that Mary's body had to have been burning at a minimum 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit for at least 3 hours to end up in the state that it was found.
You'd think the whole house would be gone at that point.
Exactly. And that's what people... Yeah, totally. So according to firefighters that attended the scene, they found the heat so intense that they couldn't bear to be exactly by the remains. But by the same token, they couldn't find any signs of like any kind of actual smouldering, which was very strange.
So she was still radiating heat.
So
her remains.
Well, yeah, this is what I read, is that it was still really, really hot. But there was no like hot, like red hot
embers
coals.
or...
Yeah.
That is so odd.
Still like emitting heat, and the doorknob on the front door was still...
That's right, the doorknob was hot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, it is incredible that a fire this hot only barely managed to create smoke markings on the roof and yet totally just cremated a human body.
Yeah.
Her skull had been so affected by the fire and the heat that it had shrunk to the size of a cup.
No.
Yes, to the size of a cup. This factor absolutely just baffled investigators, as it's common knowledge in forensics that usually under intense heat that a skull will expand and then even explode. They had never seen a skull shrink in this kind of way before. And if you look at the crime scene photos, it's really amazing to know that such intense heat was required to just totally decimate and cremate her body in such a way that her skull literally shrunk.
There's photos?
Yes, there's fucking photos.
Oh, thank God.
Oh, my God.
I mean, look, I was like, what does this look like?
It is
oh my God.
wild. So...
Okay.
Okay, in the photos, you can still see one of her legs that looks literally untouched. Her delicate silk shoe is still intact. The skin is not charred or burnt in the slightest way other than the exact area that it had been detached from the rest of her body. And even at that burn point, it looks like such a clean and clear detachment. So in this photo, like her leg looks like just a regular leg. It doesn't look like it's been in a fire at all. And she's got like this silk kind of shoe on, like this black silk shoe. And it's kind of like sitting to the side of this pile of like black ashes, like black and grey ashes. And
What?
it's so wild. So after interviewing pretty much all of the other residents in the apartment block, essentially all of them reported never noticing anything out of the ordinary, especially when it came to anything seeming like it was on fire. No one reported a burning smell or seeing any smoke. Nobody heard any alarms going off either. The only person who noticed anything even slightly odd was Pansy, the landlord, or the landlady, whatever. She said that the land person, she said that at 5 a.m. she noticed a faint smell of smoke in the vicinity, but she instantly just passed it off as the building's electricity pump playing up, as it had given her trouble in the past, including the pump emitting burning smells. So she was like, it's just the electricity pump, it's fine. The only other clues that the cops were able to determine of Mary's death was that it was approximately 4:30 a.m. that the event had occurred. This was due to the fact that a plastic clock that was sitting next to Mary when she had died had stopped at the time of 4:30 a.m. when the mechanisms had been affected by heat, which is one of the plastic appliances that I mentioned earlier that had like softened. So this case just absolutely baffled the police that were investigating. Eventually, it was passed on to the FBI due to the fact that it was just so bizarre and quite unique, especially when it came to burn fatalities.
Oh, this is an X-File.
It's an X-File. It's the next X-File episode.
Scully,
yeah,
it definitely would be on this.
Yeah, for sure. On July 7th, Police Chief J.R. Reichart sent a box to the FBI Director, Edgar Hoover. The box contained the shoe from Mary's remaining foot, 6 small objects that were thought to be teeth, part of the remaining carpet from below the chair that Mary was sitting on, and glass shards that were found in the ashes from Mary's remains. In the box, there was also a note included which read, "We request any information or theories that could explain how a human body could be so destroyed and the fire confined to such a small area and so little damage done to the structure of the building and the furniture in the room, not even scorched or damaged by smoke." So they were like, we don't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
You solve it. Yeah.
This is absolutely crazy.
Yes, it is.
I can't believe I've never heard of this.
Yeah. I mean,
Two stories I've never heard of today.
Yeah. So after the FBI received this box, they conducted an investigation that lasted only a few weeks. They concluded that Mary's death was due to what is known as the wick effect, which they claimed was a combination of Mary's nightgown, her lit cigarette, and the fact that she had taken sleeping pills. So many people, including the police chief, were absolutely just annoyed and unsatisfied with this answer. and refused to believe that this combination of things caused such an intense heat that Mary's skull literally shrunk and her body was cremated beyond recognition. So they were like, no, that's not it.
Yeah, partly as well.
Partly, exactly.
Like her body,
Yeah, exactly. It's like, very bizarre. Chief Reichardt, who was the officer who sent the box to the FBI, decided to search further for answers. Reichardt contacted Wilton Krogman, a physical anthropologist from the University of Pennsylvania, to investigate the evidence and findings, not to prove the FBI wrong, but for a second opinion on what he thought was required of this case. Things were just not lining up. Krogman actually totally just dismissed the FBI's findings, giving his own reasoning on why he did this. He stated that, "I find it hard to believe that a human body, once ignited, will literally consume itself, burn itself out, as does a candle wick. Guttering in the last residual pool of melted wax. Just what did happen on the night of July 1st, 1951 in St. Petersburg, Florida. We may never know. This case still haunts me. I cannot conceive of such complete cremation without more burning of the apartment itself. In fact, the apartment and everything in it should have been totally consumed. I regard it as the most amazing thing I have ever seen. As I review it, the short hairs on my neck bristle with vague fear. Were I living in the Middle Ages, I'd mutter something about black magic." Which was such a fantastic description. Okay. So, he agrees that this is just confuddling. This is
crazy, yeah.
Krogman also stated that after his experience of over 30 plus fire investigations, he'd never seen a skull shrink like Mary's had. There were literally no more answers to come of the Mary Reeser case, and Chief Reichardt would state to the media that this is the most unusual case I've seen during my almost 25 years of police work in the city of St. Petersburg. Samples of Mary's remains, along with takings of the chair, rug, debris, and smoke damage to a laboratory for chemical analysis to try and find more answers. However, after the examination of all these samples, not one single sign of combustibles were found.
Right, okay.
But what they did find was fat embedded into the rug. This is how hot the fire burnt that her fat literally melted into the rug. So they know that it wasn't a combustible that caused this, but they found her fat like it melted into the rug. So let's
be upstairs. They're like, there's cooking bacon down there.
Oh my god, Steph!
You wouldn't be able to smell it. Because don't we taste like pigs? Apparently,
apparently we
pork.
do. And if it's fat, like I mean,
you would smell it. I think
fat
it
smells good.
Oh, yeah.
This is the most cannibalistic we ever get, I promise.
I know. I'm saying too much here.
So let's look at the most mysterious aspects of this case, the cause of the fire.
Yeah.
Something that is quite notable is that the manufacturer of the chair that Mary had been sitting on at the time of her death came out publicly and said that due to the nature of the materials used in that particular chair, there is no way the chair itself would have just burst into flames like this. At most, it would have just smoldered. Lightning and electrical failure was also ruled out by investigators on the scene after inspecting the power outlets that were located around the whole apartment. Also, it's worth mentioning that the coroner of the case stated that if this fire was caused by napalm, kerosene, thermite bombs, or the chemicals magnesium and phosphorus, there would be a strong and distinct odor throughout the whole apartment. And this just was not found at all. Even when up close to where Mary's remains were found, there was no odours found at all. by far the most prominent and connected theory to this case, and the theory that is most believed by professionals and non-professionals alike, is that Mary was a victim of spontaneous human combustion.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just a real quick history on spontaneous human combustion. There have been roughly 200 recorded cases throughout history of spontaneous combustion, but one of the most referenced is that of 76-year-old Irishman Michael Flaherty. Flaherty.
How's it spelled?
Faherty. Flaherty.
Oh, Farty.
Michael Farty.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it.
So Farty, he died in 2010. This case is most memorable because the coroner who was assigned to Michael's death officially stated that the cause of death was spontaneous human combustion, which
2010 that happened.
Yes, 2010. Wow. And this had really just been unheard of until that date, despite spontaneous human combustion being referenced for years and years. This was the first time it was officially listed as a cause of death.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So none of Michael's surroundings were found to be even slightly tarnished at all by the fire that took him. Exactly the same as Mary's case. There are a few characteristics that seem to link all spontaneous human combustion cases. There appears to be an incredibly intense fiery heat that spontaneously combusts the person, yet seemingly always leaves a limb or sometimes two limbs just totally untouched. So this is quite common with these kind of cases. The surroundings are also completely unscathed, with not even a skerrick of even really smoke damage. But probably one of the most interesting and also eerie characteristics is that all victims of spontaneous human combustion don't appear to ever try and escape their death.
Right. Yeah.
So nothing indicates that they were even aware that they were on fire.
Yeah, there's just 2 seconds and they're gone.
And they're gone.
They don't even have time to think.
Yeah.
Oh, that's how I want to go, you know.
Just out. Just quickly out, burst into flames with a bang.
That's mad.
There has been absolutely zero evidence in any of these cases that any of the victims even attempted to fight for their lives or even be in any kind of distress. They were just kind of found where they were, like, last seen, you know. So to this day, there's still no definitive answer as to what happened to Mary Reeser, but we do know that the evidence provided does not make any sense at all. But R.I.P. Mary Reeser.
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Oh, you know, what a way to go out.
I know.
Loved that story, Jordi. Yeah, that was great.
It's a bit different. It's like...
Oh, it was great.
I was unsure whether to do it. I know I say this a lot, but I was like, is it, like, spooky enough? But it's kind of, like, mystery.
Oh, I think it's fine. A mystery is spooky for me. Like, where it's unexplained... Yeah. It's a mystery.
Exactly. And so, it's not like maybe one day we'll be able to scientifically prove, like, this is why this happens. But until then, it's a bloody mystery, mate.
That's so creepy. Like, to even think of watching someone just spontaneously
burst into flames.
Yeah, combust, just like, oh my God. Like, you couldn't even save them. It just makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense. I don't know. I've been wanting to do this one for a while, but I was like, I just want to make sure I can express properly the intensity of the heat. And
you did really well. Like, I cannot wait to see the photos. I'm so excited.
Oh my God, I can't wait to show you and everyone else the photos.
Send them to me so I can go to bed and I'll just look at the photos. I know it sounds really fucked up, but
it's crazy. I do wanna, it's like this pile of ashes and this poor woman's leg just kind of like... Oh. But how does the body burn so intensely? But her leg...
the doorknob is hot.
The doorknob is hot. But there's a pile of newspapers next to her that are also untouched.
And the fat in the car.
I know. Oh,
I didn't know that
Mary.
was linked to her. I was like, why was there? Oh, someone put fat in the cup and tried to light it. And I was like, oh,
it's her fat. And also, they found some like glass in the remains as well, which at intense heat, there are parts of the body that can like vitrify, like turn to glass under really intense heat. So,
oh my God. Sleep. She's got like what's it when you got like sleepy dust in your eye in the morning, you know? Like that just turns like a diamond.
Yes, it's a very intense case of like sleepy dust.
What the fuck is it called? I can't even think what.
It's like, or I call it like sleep. Like sleep.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I call it sleep. Yeah, what the fuck, sleepy dust?
I used to call it like fairy dust in the eyes.
It sounded like the Sandman or something.
The Sandman, yeah. I'll have to do a story on him because that's pretty fucking creepy as well. This story of the Sandman.
God. All right, we did a good little female episode.
Oh, we did. Woohoo. Women unite.
Go out like a flame.
Yep, go out with a fucking bang. All right. Yeah. Well, if you want to connect with us, you can find us on all sorts of social media.
Oh, yeah.
Spooky Mountain Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We have a Twitch, which we might maybe reserve for Patreon.
Game.
But
one of our friends suggested a Chupacabra game.
Oh, yeah.
So
fuck yeah.
Yeah. I'm making a list of things that we'll get to eventually.
Yeah, it's a lot of work figuring out all the things that you have to do when you do a podcast.
Oh my gosh,
but we're getting there slowly. So we have a Patreon if you want to join Patreon. Yeah, and also it would be really helpful if you wanted to leave us a review. This helps us so much.
That would be awesome. Yeah, leaving us a review. Just not just us up in the charts and makes us more visible. Yes. So if you can't leave a review, go over to our Facebook page even and just leave a nice review, or just follow us on whatever platform as well. Yeah. I mean, anything like that's useful.
Anything helps. But yeah, we've now got our merch shop open, so if you want to go check that out, you can do that. But yeah, great episode.
Hell yeah. All right, till next week.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.
This episode of Spooky Mountain was created and recorded on land of the original custodians, the Gundungurra and Bidjigal people. We pay respects to the past, present, and emerging mob. My name is Jordi, and I'm a proud Gunya woman. Thank you for listening.